the walk-up. And Laura, as predicted, straight over to the crowd. Now, I'm not entirely certain that we have a microphone close enough to try and pick up on what is being said. Indeed, it looks pretty much like the security is flanking the king at both sides and indeed behind, keeping a very, very close eye on what's going on. David, you will have seen close protection work like this a number of times.
Yeah, the close protection team from the Police Service of Northern Ireland will have taken over the moment His Royal Highness and Her Majesty landed at George Best Belfast City Airport. They are now providing their security as they shake hands and chat to some of the young people who have gathered here to welcome the King on his first visit. We knew they were just moments away for two reasons. Some police officers on either side of the Hillsborough Castle took up their position, and we can also see some staff from the Royal Palaces also in position, ready to lower the Union flag completely. It currently flies at half-mast, and the moment the King arrives, it will be replaced by the Royal Standard at full mast. So that will be just a few moments away. The King has arrived a little late in Northern Ireland, but he's in no hurry, it would seem, taking time to chat to people here in Hillsborough.
And these moments, very important for the new monarch, face to face with his people, face to face for the first time as their king. And we heard as he stepped out of the car the cheers, "God save the King, God save the King," the crowd chanted. And the noise as he approached the crowds was quite something. And there we have people holding flowers, waving flags, greeting the King. And it's thought he may well come and look at some of the flowers that have been laid outside the gates of the castle here too. Huge mound of those bunches of flowers that people have been laying over the last couple of days.
Well, as we keep watching these pictures, lots of beaming faces, plenty of school kids and indeed a couple of older ladies along to say hello to their new king. But let's bring in someone who knows a thing or two about the royal family. John Bruton, former Taoiseach, of course, and former ambassador of the European Union to the United States. Mr. Bruton, great to have you on the programme today. I wonder your thoughts when you heard the news of the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Well, I think it's fair to say that the United Kingdom has lost a great servant in Her Majesty the Queen. She was somebody who put her duty to her country, her duty to other people before her own personal convenience. And she lived her entire life for her country. And I think that's something, whatever views one might have about issues between Britain and Ireland, people in Ireland admired very greatly, and admired her particularly for her visit to Ireland in 2012, which did so much to build reconciliation between Britain and Ireland.
We'll speak a little bit more, if you can, Mr. Bruton, about the relationship between the Republic and the United Kingdom, the relationship that the Queen did try to foster. We were speaking this morning with my colleagues. David has been pointing out the fact that David Blevins pointing out the fact that Charles has been a regular visitor himself to the Republic. The Queen also having a very, very strong fondness for the country.
Yes, indeed. When he was Prince of Wales, he came to Ireland in 1995. I was Taoiseach in Ireland at the time, and I showed him around in different places in Ireland. And it was quite clear then that he personally has a deep interest in both parts of this country. In fact, he's already visited the majority of the 32 counties of the island of Ireland, and I believe it is one of his ambitions to visit the remaining ones as soon as he can. He's very interested, and I think he is a unifying figure among Irish people in the sense that he's highly regarded in the Republic of Ireland, but also, as you can see, very highly regarded in Northern Ireland. Now, obviously, there are divides in Northern Ireland where part of the community in Northern Ireland doesn't have quite the same attitude towards the Union Jack, for example, as people on the Unionist side of the divide in Northern Ireland have. And one must acknowledge that in many respects, while we have had a political agreement in the Good Friday Agreement on a basis for governing Northern Ireland jointly between the two communities, there hasn't been a reconciliation on the ground between the two communities. And indeed, some recent opinion poll data suggests that the divisions have become even deeper, that as many as 70% of the nationalist community believed that the IRA campaign of violence over 30 years was justified, whereas at the time, most nationalists did not believe it was justified. And quite an intransigent position has been taken as well on the requirement to scrap the protocol for the Democratic Unionist Party to re-enter the Stormont Agreement institutions. So there is quite a deep level of polarisation in Northern Ireland. But I think the King, personally, can help create an atmosphere in which reconciliation becomes more possible. But I think what's vital is that the two governments, the Irish and British governments, start working together on finding solutions to the remaining difficulties. In many ways, intergovernmental relations between Britain and Ireland are much, much worse now than they were when the Queen visited in 2012, and that needs to be repaired by the two governments. And hopefully the new Prime Minister in the United Kingdom will give this priority, because Ireland is her only European Union neighbour with which Britain has a land boundary, and that needs to be acknowledged.
Mr. Britton, there have been a number of moments of significance, and apologies if you just mentioned it, the sound quality here at Hillsborough, I hope you understand, is pretty poor, given the enthusiasm that has been for the arrival of the King. But I wonder if you might just speak specifically about that handshake that took place between Her Majesty the Queen and Martin McGuinness, and how that was viewed in the Republic.
Well, I think people in the Republic at that time felt it was a very difficult and brave thing for the Queen to do, bearing in mind that the IRA, with which Martin McGuinness was associated, had assassinated Lord Mountbatten. Lord Mountbatten, who in many ways was like a godfather to the new King. And a very close personal connection existed between the Mountbatten family and the royal family. And the fact that he was murdered by the IRA, and yet Her Majesty the Queen was happy to shake hands with Martin McGuinness, who at that time was on a path towards peace and a path away from the violence that he had previously espoused. That was, in human terms, an immensely brave and difficult thing that the Queen did, and I think it was acknowledged on this side of the border in particular, what an effort that was on her part and how much appreciated it was.
Mr. Britton, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for your time. And as you can see on your screen at the moment, whilst the new King greets his subjects, we wait for the Royal Standard to fly above Hillsborough Castle itself. Huge crowd here. From my position in the kind of the media gantry, there must be a couple of hundred people, most of whom apparently have their mobile phones out recording the moment for posterity. So I suspect if you spend any amount of time on social media in the next couple of hours, you may find plenty of closer shots and even perhaps a few words from the new King and his Queen Consort. You can probably also make out just the level of security that there is here, commented on already, of course, by David Blevins, but understandably so, still tensions in this community. And of course, in just a second, we expect, once the King has finished greeting those that gathered here at Hillsborough Castle, that he will, as he has done at the other locations that he has travelled to, take a quick walk, have a look at the flowers, have a look at some of the testimonies, have a look at some of the comments that have been left by members of the public. I have to say, I've seen a few floral arrangements over the past few days. The way in which the staff here at Hillsborough Castle have perhaps organised the bouquets, have laid it out next to those golden embossed gates surrounding the castle itself, is quite stunning, quite staggering in fact. Laura Bundock, as we watch now, what do you think is going through the King's head? These are official functions. We have to remember this. This is a duty of the King. Yeah. But he is in a period of mourning. He is in black, and the applause just spontaneously breaking out there as well.
I think this applause says it all, and you could see, looking at him greeting the crowds, there was a mixture of thank you, as obviously the crowds paid tribute to the Queen, but also smiles as well, as they welcomed him as their King as well. And I think that is the absolute mix of emotion for him at the moment, really. It is a double moment, really, but certainly the crowds here, and they will be able to smell those flowers. We can smell them here, can't we? The power of the smell will be amazing, and it will mean a lot, I think, looking at them laid out like this.
I don't notice any marmalade sandwiches, though, so I think the message might have got through.
There's no sandwiches. They were taking flowers from the crowd here as well. So many, I noticed. One member of their party couldn't carry anymore and had to walk off and leave them while she deposited the flowers in this pile here. But they will be looking at those messages and remembering the Queen. And inside, once they're inside the castle and the royal standard there is sort of poised, you can see it fluttering just above that chimney breast, where it'll be raised as soon as he walks through those gates. They will see the photos of that exhibition. They will look back at the years of the Queen and the time she spent here in Northern Ireland.
David, just remind us, David, who will the King be meeting inside Hillsborough Castle today? Who will the King be meeting inside Hillsborough?
Just as he enters through the gates, I hear shouts of "Long live the King!" And the royal standard is raised above Hillsborough Castle in County Down, the official residence of the King in Northern Ireland. A significant moment. Prince Charles, as he was previously, having been here on 39 occasions, his 40th visit to Northern Ireland happens to be his first as monarch, and as he makes his way to the castle now with Her Royal Highness the Queen Consort, they will be preparing for a number of meetings with political leaders from Northern Ireland, people like Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, leader of the DUP, but most notably with the First Minister designate of Northern Ireland. Michelle O'Neill is the deputy leader of Sinn Féin. She's First Minister designate because there is no functioning devolved government at this time, but it's hugely significant and symbolic that she's come here to offer her condolences as an Irish Republican, but she has often stated that she wants to be a First Minister for all the people in Northern Ireland, and this is a visual demonstration of that.
We should expect the words that they exchange to be pretty warm, judging by the comments that she's previously made in the past few days, in fact.
Yes, you know how much things have changed in Northern Ireland, where you're hearing an Irish Republican pay tribute to the Queen and acknowledge that King Charles has now taken the throne and extend her sympathy to her neighbours, and that we hear
That is the gun salute. That is the gun salute.
How many of those are we getting?
We're going to get 21 of those. The dog's not enjoying them perhaps as much, but it is the gun salute from the grounds. You can see the smoke from that gun salute sort of to the left of the castle there, but there'll be 6 rounds a minute, 21 rounds in total.
Significant.
It's a salute. It's a gun salute welcoming in the King and Queen Consort as they arrive at the castle. The royal standard now flying above the castle, and as they make their way in there with the Lord Lieutenant and other dignitaries inside, as I say, looking at that exhibition spanning the Queen's 25 visits to Northern Ireland, from a princess back in 1945 right up until 2016, which was the last time the Queen visited here with Prince Philip when they went on the tour of the north of Northern Ireland, ending at the Giant's Causeway, which I'm sure you were there for, David.
It was quite the journey to see the Queen on that old steam train make her way along the north coast, the scenic north coast, which everyone comes to Northern Ireland to visit, of course famous for the Giant's Causeway among other places, and of course for Royal Portrush Golf Club these days, where lots of people come to play a few rounds. Now, that was a significant visit in 2016 because not only was the Queen again taking the opportunity to meet with the then First Minister and the then Deputy First Minister Martin McGuinness and continue to give her seal of approval in many ways to the efforts that were going on to achieve lasting peace in Northern Ireland. It would turn out to be her final visit to Northern Ireland. She was meant to come last year for a very significant event, an ecumenical service to mark the centenary of Northern Ireland, but you will recall at very short notice that she had to cancel that trip because of ill health. People were very, very keen that she would come again in due course and visit them. Sadly, that was not to be the case. But as you've heard, the welcome for the new monarch today, as he made his way through the gates, I heard shouts in the background of "Long live the King." So certainly, as far as the Unionist community is concerned, they're very, very glad to be welcoming His Majesty to this corner of the United Kingdom.
Plenty of smiling faces as I take a quick final look around the crowd. Yeah, the children seem particularly pleased with the photos that they're taking. Everyone's just peering over their mobile phones at the moment, wondering whether or not they managed to catch the King in the back of their selfie. Well, with the Royal Standard now flying over Hillsborough Castle, the King has arrived.